happened there? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where in the world you might be. Thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. Let's rock and roll, people. Here we go.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
It is official. The England squad has been announced, as have other nations. Tonight, we take a dive into our Arsenal 3 Lions and, of course, look to the other Gooners who are going to Qatar. Some fans care about this World Cup. Some fans don't. It is not a lie when one says it is a very polarizing tournament. But we will talk about it tonight, because despite whatever is going on behind the scenes, these players have dreamed of this moment. And as God's child tweeted earlier today, it is a boyhood dream to go to the World Cup with his country. Speaking of dreams, Mr. James Johnstone, one of my favorite guys back in the house. Welcome to Squad Central, Mr. JJ.
Yes, hello. Shall I do this whilst Kev's not here? Squaddies at ease.
Well done. Well done.
Get that out of the way. And
very well done.
Yeah, I'll be selling some dreams tonight. I think I'll upset a few. I'll be ruining dreams as well. I think any of these players that I somewhat disagree with are listening to your show. If there's a certain Harry in Manchester that might be listening.
I love it. And before we get stuck into it, the dress code for tonight, okay? I thought you were going to wear your Gareth Southgate suit, waistcoat.
Do you know what? I thought about it because at the time I was just like, let's fully immerse myself. And then the more and more things have gone on, I'm just like, I'm probably going to be watching this World Cup somewhat half-arsed in a hoodie and tracksuit bottoms. So I might as well just do the show in hoodie and tracksuit bottoms, you know?
Well,
it's the least excited I've been for a World Cup in my entire life. And I mean, okay, I was born when 94 was on, but I was 3. 98 was incredible. I got so immersed in 98 World Cup. You had the Bergkamp goal against Argentina, which was one of the greatest things I ever saw in my life, being 6 and 7. You had Michael Owen scoring against Argentina. Again, what a brilliant goal that was. You had Davor Suker ripping it up. It was a great, that France team was brilliant, all of them. Thuram, Lizarazu, Leboeuf, Barthez before he became an idiot, Petit, Vieira, Trezeguet, Zidane, everybody. Desailly, you had all the legends.
I think my favourite World Cup, Italia 90, was really good.
Yeah.
That was a good World Cup.
I've watched it through documentaries, and I must say, yeah, it's very emotional, especially the England side of things. Yeah, you can't help but get sucked into that story of the 90s.
Yeah, well, the tears, the
exactly
iconic, the David Platt goal against Belgium. I love that goal. Very, obviously Lineker's hat trick when we had to win against Poland 3-0. We'll get to that at the end. We'll get stuck into this. Good evening to all the usual suspects in the house. For those listening on our audio platforms, Spotify, iTunes, and Acast, thank you so much. And to those listening on replay, thank you for joining us as well. All the usual suspects in the house. We've got Albert here as well tonight. Good evening, Albert. It's been a while. Good to see you. He has timed this very well, he says. Love to you as well. At ease, Albert, at ease. Lynn is upset. She made that clear at the very beginning before we came on air that we lost last night. We're going to get stuck into that as well. And before you say anything, yes, I am wearing my bathrobe. Okay? Just, I guess it's my show. I can wear what I want. I'm not feeling tip-top. It's been a very busy, crazy, stressful week, Mr. James Johnson, not going to lie. And I might let the squaddies in on some stuff at the end. I don't know. We'll see. But usually we're family here, so we talk about everything. You know what I mean? But the good news is I took a couple of days off because Tony had some appointments, and we had a really good appointments, and that's a good sign in terms of moving forward and all the health stuff as well. So thanks to everyone who reached out and DM'd me over the last couple of days. I really appreciate that. Wearing my bathrobe in the middle of the day in the heat of Southern California, perhaps not the best idea. So if I start sweating like swine, it's not because I'm confused about the England squad. It's because I made the wrong wardrobe choice. Anywho, James Johnstone, why don't we start the tippy top of the World Cup mountain? Feel free to share your thoughts. And by the way, Demsek, good news for you as well. Thank you for sharing your good news. Absolutely brilliant that your health is on the right path as well. And of course, if you look at the very tippy top of the chat, I've got another show special for you tonight, James. Check it out. HS30, use the code, go visit Zenith Coins, get your 30% off. It's absolutely gorgeous, got tons of pictures. A lot of you went over and bought your coin on Monday night show. Really appreciate that. Go show him some love. Remember, it's the gift that keeps on giving, whether it's for you or a loved one. It's in the show description, and I'll put it in the chat again. And by the way, I wanted to give a shout out because the guys at Zenith Coins gifted us the coin with number 49, James, which is very special in the Arsenal universe.
Has that got an intro video as well?
No, it does not, unfortunately.
Oh, I was getting excited. I thought, wow, I feel like I'm on QVC. Yeah, I'm loving it. You know.
We donated it to Stephen Featley. I was on Stephen's show a few weeks ago. Stephen has had a liver disease since he was born, and he was told when he was born that he wasn't going to make it. And he's lived to 20 plus years. And he didn't get some great news earlier this week. So send your love out to Stephen. We, thanks to Zenith Coins, gave Stephen the number 49 coin so he can raise some money for the Children's Liver Disease Foundation. Just wanted to say thank you so much to Zenith and the guys over there for their very kind donation. And to Stephen, we send you lots of love. You can go to his Twitter right here, and that will lead you to where we're trying to raise some money for Stephen and for other kids like him. And he told me the other day, he goes, Soph, if I can help kids not suffer the way I've suffered, then my job here is done. And so thank you to the guys for making that possible. We really appreciate it. And as always, our community is here to help and do whatever we can. So we mix football and life, and sometimes life comes at us pretty quickly, and we're here to support each other however we can. Sending love to Stephen. Please go over to his Twitter and let's raise some money for a good cause. Right, let's get stuck into some football. Mr. James Johnstone, today the England squad was announced. We'll get stuck into some of our other players playing for other nations, heading to Qatar. Why don't you rattle off the squad to us?
Okay. Sophie, do you want me to rattle it off and then you decide if you would have picked these and then do it? Or should I just rattle it off and then we'll do that after? What way do you want to
go? Well, you know what? You're the guest host this evening. What do you want to do?
I say let's go through the positions, rattle them off, and then say which ones we would have picked and which ones we would have kept at home and shattered the dreams, as we spoke about earlier. They'd have had to, you know, which ones are going on the plane and which ones are having the little, you know, microwave dinner on the lap, watching it on the telly.
All right, love it. Let's do that.
So, right, let's go goalkeepers, Sophie. And we have picked, funny enough, pardon the pun, Jordan Pickford.
How long did you work on that one?
Oh, ages. As many, you know, you said the Son of God was speaking earlier. Well as God, we've also got Pope. Nick Pope is there. That's two jokes in one there. And then you've obviously got Rambo 2.0, Aaron Ramsdale.
I can't argue with that.
All three of those goalkeepers, Sophie, they were the three I would have took.
Yeah. I mean, and I know there's been this argument for Henderson.
Yes.
But I believe that in this instance, he's made the right choice. And take a bow, Aaron Ramsdale. Jack Wilshere texted him earlier while Jack was on TalkSport, and he got him on TalkSport. It looked like he was sitting on a dodgy couch, by the way. His couch didn't look the best. But here he is sporting his first England cap. And to see him be part of the team means a lot to him, of course. He's stoked about it. Leaves on Monday, heading on the plane. Great choice. And I think Gareth Southgate actually, this was a no-brainer for me, the goalkeepers. No-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Henderson, brilliant at saving penalties. That's one thing that I will give him. But yeah, you know, when you're shipping 5 in your last couple of games and you know, the manager's there watching it, I know it's not his fault maybe that he shipped 5, but they're not going to pick you if if you're conceding at the rate that he was conceding, especially at the start of the year before Forest switched to that 5 at the back to help them.
Yeah.
They were leaking goals left, right, and centre, so I can see why he didn't get picked. Defenders.
James, before you carry on, Universal Greek, who's been an original squaddie, day one, has changed his name to Greek Commander.
He's been promoted.
Washington. Are you a Washington Redskins? Washington Commanders fan then? But interesting, Greek Commander, very authoritative. We like it. And like Mark says, why are you no longer Universal Greek? Please do explain. James?
Has he been bought out by Disney? Can he not use Universal anymore? Is that what happened? Has Disney bought him? You have to ask these questions.
Oof. All I can say is a good job I put a t-shirt on under here. If I start undressing, okay, live on air, you'll know why. James Johnson, carry on, mate.
Yes. So the defenders, Sophie, we have got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Connor Cody, Eric Dyer by name, Dyer by nature, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, Johnstone's not related to me, Kieran Trippier, Carl Walker, and Super Ben White.
Some people weren't sure.
The coolest man in the room.
Look at him. I just want him to go to, maybe get the odd post-game interview here and there, just because it will be absolutely hilarious. Benjamin White officially on the plane. Our 3 Lions, he's one of them, and he is going well-deserved. If there is a player that has had an amazing start to the season and elevated his game tenfold, it is Mr. Benjamin White. We are so proud of him. Are we not, James Johnson?
I love him. Do you know
you have a man crush, don't you?
I think so. I think it's developing. The guy's unreal. Like I said, he's cool as a cucumber. He's a bit of a rattler. And do you know what? I read something the other day, and I wish I could remember who it was that I read it on Twitter from. But they said that he was extensively scouted by us for nearly 2/3 seasons. And they looked at the metrics to compare him with someone that was like David Luiz. What David Luiz used to do in terms of progressing from out the back, but obviously he was older and he couldn't do it as much at Arsenal. I don't really think David Luiz was god-awful for Arsenal. He had a few games where he had a stinker, but he had a few games where he was absolutely sensational as well.
Became a bit of a scapegoat, though, didn't he? Somewhat.
That's us. We love one. That's Lokonga at the moment. Sadly, that's his job now. He's the player that everybody seems to be going for at the moment. Obviously, we'll touch on that more later when you said you want to do the Arsenal stuff. But yeah, in terms of with David Luiz as well, I think a comparable metric that probably wasn't on it at the time is how much he rattles people. He's brilliant. He's really annoying. And as an Arsenal fan, I love to see it. I love to see him annoy people. It's fantastic. And he's body checking into people now. Like, get off me.
I love his. Now, when we've talked about, you and I had a conversation, I think, a few weeks ago about the dark arts. And I remember towards the end of last season, I jinxed it because I said maybe some of our players, and I singled out Rob Holding about maybe learning the dark arts. And of course, he practiced it in a horrific way against Tottenham at the end of the season. However, Benjamin White, I think, is becoming what's the level down from master? The level down from, he's not quite, samurai, but he's learning. And I love the clips where you see him doing the things that he does. He's very, very clever, and he's gotten away with a lot of it this season. And I love to see it. You're right.
Yeah. If I can use a comparison. He's not Jedi, but he's at least Padawan. You know, he's the he's the Skywalker in A New Hope. He's not quite, you know, Return. You know, he's not taking down Darth Vader just yet, but he's nearly there. You know,
I like it.
He's with Yoda. He's in that Yoda stage. You know, he's getting the X-wing out the water type. You know, that's where he is. But he will get there. He will defeat the baddies. I'm telling you, he will do it.
He's just it's really good to see, and he's going to provide a versatility. And of course, with England having injuries, especially in that right back position, and we'll get to the midfield eventually. But to have a play like him, they're very lucky, and I love to see it. And so you talk me through. Okay, so funny because he's going to be joining us in a minute here, but. Dan Potts sent me a WhatsApp this morning, and he's like, the squad, right? And the way he listed them all out, it was Dyer, Maguire. And I was like, what? Did you even mean that? Because the way it just rolls off the tongue is absolute gold. How is it possible that this guy has made the England squad? And when he talks about form, and we'll get to Tony and we'll get to the forward line, James, Maguire. Now, Dyer, I can understand just a tad maybe in terms of how he started the season for Tottenham. He's not been great, made a hellacious mistake last weekend. Tottenham fans just think that, you know, they don't rate him. How is Harry Maguire, though, who cannot get a game for Manchester United in this squad? And I don't understand. So what if he had a good tournament last tournament or the tournament before? Don't you want players in form going into this tournament? Talk me through it, JJ.
I'm with you 100%. But Southgate, you know, there's been those. Sadly, I think the last yes man manager that England had was Terry Venables. I think Terry Venables was the only one that somewhat stood up to the FA, and it did cost him his job in the end. And they didn't renew his contract, if you remember. They went for Hoddle instead. We knew during the Euro 96 that regardless of what happened, win, lose it, he wasn't going to be the manager afterwards because he stood up to him. He didn't like the fact that, you know, he still had all that legal trouble, if you remember, with Alan Sugar and everything else like that. And still to this day, he's fighting that. He's still to this. And that was what, 91, 92, that stuff with him at Tottenham. And he's denied it all the way through, protested it, and the FA never backed him. So he went, well, if you don't back me, I'm not backing you. So, you know, I think Southgate's a very nice bloke, and he does what he's told when he's told to do it. And he's another guy.
Do you? I mean, I do think, I know that happens. It's so funny because a lot of the times I think we're so elitist, you know, in thinking that there's not corruption in our universes and in our game and in our leagues and all of this type of stuff. And holy cow, just watch FIFA Uncovered, which dropped on Netflix yesterday. It's, you know, I would say, is it nothing new? It's just the way the story is told. And some of, you know, it's just watch it. And if I do believe there is a bit of pressure because he's the guy they've molded, right, James? Yeah. I'm not saying that he's been told who to pick, but what you're saying is that you think there is pressure on him to pick certain players.
I think there's that, but also I think as well, sadly, I think the England team has also had it for years. There's that big club bias that's always been there. I think that's been there for the whole time that I've watched England. And I also think as well that someone put it up there. He says that he doesn't have favourites and he picks on form. The guy has favourites. He's a man that relies so much on trust of people. And someone mentioned it. Why is Connor Cody in there? Now, for me, Connor Cody, I don't think he's done dreadful at Everton, but he got binned out from Wolves, where he literally was Mr. Wolves.
He was the captain.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He was Mr. Wolves, and yet they were like, you're not good enough for us, deemed him surplus. And he is literally only there, I think, because he's a good character to have around. Because he has been a captain for a very, very long time. He's a very vocal captain, I'll give him that. Every time I've seen him on an interview, I think he's a top guy. He comes across as one of the nicest people going. But we're trying to win. We're trying to win a football tournament here. So, you know, being nice, yeah, it's great, but we want to win, don't we? And for me, these players, where I don't think they're good enough, you're going to have to play that back five system. And I'm sorry, but we're in a group with Iran, America, who I know you've got a big American audience, so I'm not going to slate the Americans. And Wales is going to be a tricky game because, to be fair, we're in a group with 3 teams that would love to beat us. All 3 of them will go, we don't want to lose to the English. Don't want to lose to the English at all. And to play back 5 against all 3 of them, I'm sorry, that's a joke. And it's not going to be back 5 like how you watch these Italian teams do it in Serie A, or when Arsenal, when they're out of possession, are in a 3. And then when they're in possession, they're not going to mold. We're going to have 7 players in our own area and then the 3 up top. So they're just going to be isolated. They're going to be feeding off scraps. It's going to be so predictable, Sophie. You know how it's going to go before I've even talked about it, because he's going to play that 5, because these centre-backs, other than Ben White, who is versatile enough and somewhat, I know he's only about 60-65%, Kyle Walker, but he can play as a right centre-back in a 3. But you're going to have to play a 3 because they're not good enough on their... Maguire, Dyer and Cody are not good enough on their own to play a 4. I would go play the 4 and put Stones and White as your centre-backs, because at least they're progressive. At least you know that they can recover. That's what I'd do, but he's not going to do it. He's going to go for the 3 or the 5. And that is absolutely, with that group, playing 5 at the back against those teams is absolutely pathetic.
It's very candid, and I agree. And if anyone thinks that he's going to change the way he's been playing at this tournament, I think you're very mistaken. And I think a lot of people believe that because he's included a player like Maddison, that maybe he's going to take, the shackles off a little bit and allow this team to have more creative freedom. I'm going to bring in, he's going to join us for about 15, 20 minutes here. Wanted to get his take to Mr. James Johnstone. Mr. Dan Potts in the house. Welcome, Pottsy.
Yeah, all good, man. What you saying? Sorry, I'm a bit late, Soph. I couldn't get off of the other show, so I do apologise, man. But I'm all good. I'm all good. Good to see you.
Were
both.
they holding
James,
you to ransom, or was it your own show?
No, it was my own one, so I couldn't get them off. They're all talking about England, and they're talking about weekends and last nights. And do you know when there's so much to talk about because of a World Cup year, you can't get through it all in an hour. So it takes an hour and 20 now on shows I've noticed. It's just mad. But there we go.
No,
Mark, big up yourself, man. Hope you're well, bruv.
Well, listen, I'm guilty for added time. You know what I mean? I go into, extra
time. Sometimes it's good
time.
though, man.
It's Gareth Bale time, they call it here in the US now. And I tell you something, you guys, if people don't think this geezer is ready to play against England, he's ready. He's more than ready. He's been saving himself. James, you talk about federations and wrapping up players in cotton wool and keeping them safe. And I think a lot of our lineup yesterday had to do with World Cup. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's jump into getting Dan's. We've done the goalkeepers in the defense. And James, I was going to just ask you, your back 4, who missed out that should have been in instead of Maguire or Dyer? Who are the players that missed out in defense? Because we all agree on the goalkeepers.
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't. Tomori should have gone 100%. But probably because he, unless you're Bellingham, if you don't play in England, you're not getting picked. So, so there's that one. And I would have also I'd have gone for Burn at Newcastle. Because if you want that big man that you can trust, that's the guy for me. I think he's been absolutely excellent for Newcastle this season. He's got a relationship with Trippier. He used to play with White. So if you were going to do a 3, you could have gone Stones, Burn, and Ben White and done like what Brighton used to do and go, you got your Duncan Burn next to you, Ben. You're there. We're going to win all your headers. You just progress that ball. That's all you just do the progressive stuff, Ben, that we know you can do. But again, I'm sorry to say it, Sophie, because it feels like I'm absolutely tunning into the guy. And I don't want to, because he, like I've said, Southgate's a lovely guy. You can tell if me and him met, we'd probably be really, really close friends, I think, because he's a nice man. He's a nice... I couldn't imagine him not being a nice guy. I reckon if I had no coat and it was pouring with rain and we were walking back out of somewhere, he'd give me the waist. It wouldn't fit me because I've got bigger shoulders and I'm a bit rotund, but he'd give me it because that's the kind of guy that he is. But his cowardice, Sophie, cost England the greatest chance of a Euros that they're going to have for a very, very long time. The minute we got that goal against Italy, he should have gone to him. Keep going. But he withdrew us 10 yards. Then that 10 yards become 15. And then we got punished. And that's all on him. He can't blame anyone but himself for that. That's all from his management.
And I don't think we're going to see a change, Potsy, in how Gareth Southgate wants to play. What do you think about the defenders that he's chosen to take? Do you think that there's someone who was egregiously left out, or are you cool with his choices?
It's the only part of the side that I think is shambolic, if I'm honest with you. I can understand and make a case for the majority of the others, or at least make a case for some of the ones further up the pitch. The keepers don't shock me at all. I don't think anyone's shocked by those three. But I don't know how he can pick Maguire and Dyer. I don't get it, if I'm honest. I can think of quite a few other players, to be fair, that deserve a shout ahead of him. And with James, I think Tomori, definitely. I don't understand why he's not there. What's Maguire and Dyer done? He hasn't. Or he's won a Serie A. That's for start, what he's done. He's also looked good at Chelsea and looked good at most places that he's gone on loan. So for me, I think he's a player that deserved to have gone. I believe Dan Burn and Tariq Mitchell should have come in as the two left backs and been that absolute fool. Luke Shaw out because he's shocking. Absolutely terrible. For me, Shaw and Maguire have basically proven that you can be shit all season and still go to the World Cup. So if you've got a manager who's going to do that, I'd rather leave him home. I'm not a Southgate fan. I don't want to start slating the guy too much, but we would have won 2 competitions by now with a good manager. Like we would have won both the World Cup and the Euros, and we've won neither because we've got a manager who goes 1-0 up and sits back and goes, "Come on in. If you fancy winning 2-1, be my guest." And then people do. So I don't like him. I don't rate him, and I feel defensively. I can tell you now, if you think that squad's bad, wait until you see the first 11. It's going to be hilariously bad at the back because Maguire's going to play, and while Kyle Walker is out, because he is apparently in a back three until the later group stages, which is a mad decision. Just leave him at home then. It's going to be Dyer, Maguire and Stones at the back with Trippier and Shaw. So if anyone fancies some goals against England, then come and have some fun.
I also think that, those we've seen before banana skin games for a lot of different nations, especially that first match, right? So it's kind of underestimating your opponent and maybe being a bit disrespectful. A lot of people are just assuming it's a slam dunk against Iran. You're talking about a country as well that is fighting on all fronts. It's not just about football. The United States, who haven't been in the World Cup for 8 years, are wanting to, prove and show themselves. They play England on Thanksgiving Day. There's something about that makes me feel a little bit nervous. And, they've got some really talented players. Again, with them, it's going to be down to their manager, how they do, because he too plays very conservative football. And then you've got a home nations game against the Welsh, who are going to want to turn England over and are going to want to have, the same type of celebration they did when England got knocked out of the Euros by Iceland, taking the piss. They're going to live for that moment. So I don't think we can underestimate the group or the opponents. Now, you mentioned Kyle Walker. Let's get to the midfield, James, because there's another player he's included, and he's rolled the dice on a couple of injured players. And, Fabio Capello once said he would have taken Ledley King just to play one game in the World Cup because it would mean them getting 3 points. Talk us through the midfield and the inclusion of Phillips, which I think is a little bit insane.
Yeah, just quick as well. I totally forgot defenders. I'd have took Guehi from Palace as well. Really rate that guy. Think he's a very, very underrated player. Midfielders. So yeah, we've got Bellingham, who if he doesn't start, then blimey, don't sack Southgate first game if he's not starting. Conor Gallagher. We'll touch on that in a minute. Henderson, Mason Mount, Calvin Phillips, and Declan Rice.
And do you agree with that?
I do, yeah, because his whole statement was, I don't pick favourites and I'm picking on form. Now, I know last season, he had the most ball recoveries out of any English player, and it was a landslide compared to them. However, he's not been playing. And the only reason I think he's there is because he does not have another potential, like ball ball recovering,
Mhm.
and then long passing. You know, they call him Yorkshire Perlo, for God's sake. He hasn't got that other kind of player. But I think you could have easily have gone with your Rice and your Bellingham and got through that group and potentially, you know, got to at least the quarters and then seen what happened. I don't think Calvin Phillips coming out the cold, and I'm happy to be shocked, but I don't think him coming out the cold is going to be good enough for the demands of that. You know, they're going to be 3 high intense games like you've just mentioned. And this is a guy that's not been playing at all. And I mean, Conor Gallagher as well. I'm sorry. That's absolutely insane.
That one was that came out of left field. And I don't think, Dan, anyone had Conor Gallagher in their England squad. What do you make of the midfield? Who do you think got shafted?
Well, Gareth gave me a call and said you're missing out because Calvin's played one more game than you. So, yeah, I was a bit shocked and surprised at that one.
I have heard you being called Colchester Perlo. I have heard that from the locals.
I'll take that, James. I'll take that, James. No, I can't take credit for that joke because that was on my show earlier, and I thought I'd nick it off of a little Danny the Wolves. Okay. He said, I can't believe I've not got in that squad. Calvin Phillips has played one more game than me this season. Listen, I understand why he's gone with Phillips because there's no other central defensive midfielder at the club that I can see other than Declan Rice, and you need 2. So I guess he's got no other options. Having said that, I'm surprised to see Conor Gallagher in there ahead of James Ward-Prowse. I don't think James Ward-Prowse has been fantastic, but I also don't think Conor Gallagher has. James Ward-Prowse is an absolute starter in every single game, has a brilliant set piece, a fantastic right foot, and I think he's been shafted a bit ahead of Conor Gallagher, if I'm honest with you. But having said that, I think the other positions are easy to pick, aren't they? Rice and Bellingham are going to be the 2 that start. Jordan Henderson, I mean, I suppose he's the other defensive midfield type that we've got. But is he done? I don't know. I don't see what he's done at Liverpool. It doesn't look great, to be fair. I've never really been a huge fan, but I can understand and appreciate that he brings more than just technical ability to the game. I think when you look at players like, the attacking options we've got. I mean, I know we're going to go into that later, but in terms of the midfield attacking options, I think with Maddison and Mount, that's really, really good for me that James Maddison's there. Like, that is really, really good for me in the midfield because that for me was just an absolute. It would have been criminal for me to not pick him. He is by far the best attacking midfielder in the league outside of Kevin De Bruyne for me. And I wanted him so badly at Arsenal. And I got slated for it. I don't know why. Maybe people don't like him and there's just an absolute love for Ødegaard. But Ødegaard is a great player. But, oh my God, he'd love to be as good as James Maddison. He would love to be as good as James Maddison. This guy is ridiculously good, man. He doesn't stop scoring. He sets up. He creates. He looks fantastic. He's got 18 goals, 12 assists. Ødegaard would love 18 assists, let alone 18 goals. He can't get it, man. His numbers just ain't right. But I like him. Good player. But he can't lace Maddison's boots, man. Maddison is unreal. This guy is going to be so good as well. 25 years old. People say Ødegaard's young. He's 24. Come on, man. This player is class. Deserves to be in the England squad. And I'm absolutely buzzing that he is because I think he's going to be a fantastic talent. And I think, for me, better than Mount and better than Grealish. So I'm glad to see Maddison there, man. 100%.
Well, I'm not going to get into the slating of one of the Arsenal's holy.
I'm not slating him. I'm just saying he's not as good as Maddison. That's not slating him. That's just saying it's like saying, I don't know. Let's pick a centre half. Let's say who's better than Gabriel. Let's just say that there's a centre half. Sol Campbell is better than Gabriel. That's not slating Gabriel. That's just saying Sol Campbell is better.
So here's a bold. Okay, so here's a bold prediction. I bet Maddison doesn't start one game.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right because we've got a clown in charge. That's probably right, honestly, and it'll be a madness if he doesn't.
Sophie, I'm really shocked he took him because do you remember a few years back he picked him and he withdrew because he said he was unwell, and then he was pictured in the casino with all the notes behind him, and he'd gone out on the slosh with his friends.
Yes.
So for ages he never picked him again after that because, like I said earlier, the trust. The guy is so trust orientated, it's insane. So I am really shocked he's there. But yeah, for me, got to be playing. Has to play. I know you're going to ask for the lineup for the first game in a minute.
I will.
I'll hold off. But yeah.
I think that this is a pressure pick. The pressure, and I don't think he was being candid when he said he's known for a few weeks or 2 weeks, however long he said that Maddison is going to the World Cup. he hasn't really featured in any of his squads, and I think this is one pick where, was it Glenn Hoddle who really took the brave route and didn't pick Gaza? Who was the England captain that didn't pick? Right.
Yeah, Hoddle, yeah.
I feel like this was a pressure pick. I don't think he has any intention of starting him. I think he'll always, favor Grealish and Foden, and he wants to play with 2 defensive midfielders. I just don't see room for him. Now, then the expectations are, can he come on and change a game? Now you're adding all this pressure on Maddison, and then if it doesn't work out, he was a failure at the World Cup. But I don't see him starting at all. But I think the midfield, Phillips is a really good player, but he hasn't played. So what does that look like? I agree with both of you on that one. James Ward-Prowse, talk about having specialists in a team. And now we're going to get to the forwards now, because he's a specialist. Free kicks are going to come up. I know you've got Trippier in the side and you've got a couple of other players, but we know that this is how he's built his reputation. The same thing with Tony and penalties. This is a tournament. And if you're looking to rely on players who are specialists in a position for specific things, Tony was definitely one of them. James, talk us through the forward line.
So, yeah, it's Foden, who 100% has to be there. Grealish, for me, that was a question mark. However, I changed my mind, but I'll touch on that in a minute. Harry Kane, obviously going to go. They've put Maddison as forwards, but we've already talked about him. Rashford, who for me deserves to be there on the season that he's had so far. Saka, who has to be in there. Come on, it's Saka, got to be in there. And then Sterling and Wilson. And I hope that Gareth has not been watching Chelsea and will deploy Sterling as a wing-back like Chelsea have been. I hope he hasn't seen that and thought, oh, I'm going to do that for you. Please, for God's sake, no.
Well, before we get stuck into the nuts and bolts of it, congratulations to God's child, and well done fulfilling a boyhood dream. This young man is integral to this team. I think he starts every game. He should start every game. He's so refreshing, such a good kid on and off the pitch. What a wonderful player that we have, that it has become the beacon and the marketable factor of the new Arsenal Football Club under Mikel Arteta and Edu. So well done to Bukayo Saka. And that rounds up the Arsenal 3 lines, Rambo, Benjamin and Bukayo. Love that they're going to be there for each other as well, be able to support each other. Congrats to them. Dan, that front line, well done. Yes, that front line. Rashford, Tammy Abrahams isn't having the best season in Serie A, but he's also being asked to play a little bit differently this season. So I'm not sure that is completely fair. Tony, who I'm not sure I want at Arsenal, or I don't know, it's just a personal preference. I just feel like there's something about him that maybe he doesn't fit into what Arteta's trying to do and the personalities and the characters. Just my opinion. However, in this England team, when you're looking for option B, I feel like he's a better option than Rashford. I think some Manchester United fans are surprised that Rashford is in. Yes, he's having a good game, a good last few games, but he blows hot and cold. What's your take on that front line?
I don't rate Marcus Rashford. I never have. And every time I say it, he scores against Arsenal. So I should stop saying it, really. But yeah, I think Marcus Rashford is a better word, man. This guy, how many goals has he scored in his best season? Isn't it 13 or something like that? I think he scored like 8. I mean, Granit Xhaka's probably going to get 8 this season for Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't really get this guy. I think he's the most overhyped player that has pace and that will probably be a Danny Welbeck or a Theo Walcott or a Gabriel Bonlaw, a respectable player. They'll be a good player. When you look back at Marcus Rashford's career, you'll probably go, he was all right. But I don't look at this unbelievable talent like some people have. Like a few seasons ago, Soph, he was valued at £150 million and Mbappe was valued at 160 million. I think I'd rather spend the 10 million and get Mbappe. Like, I don't understand why this guy has been so highly paid, overhyped. I don't get it. I don't think he's had enough in his career to go, wow, this guy is a Thierry Henry level striker. He's never going to score 20 goals a season for Man United. I don't really get the hype at all in terms of him coming for England. But the one that does me, if you're going to take Rashford and you're going to take Callum Wilson, you're going to take Kane, that's great because Callum Wilson deserves a go. But how can you leave Ivan Toney out because you've picked 3 right backs, one of which is not going to be fit until the last group stage. Like, for me, just leave Kyle Walker at home if he's not fit and bring Ivan Toney into the side. He deserves to be there. He's been brilliant this season. And whether you play him or don't play him, he deserves to be in the squad for me, man, because I think he's been brilliant for Brentford. And I think for a guy who's 5'10" or 5'11", he does a lot of aerial threat. He has a lot of ability on the ball. He can link up play. He can hold up play. He knows where the goal is. And do you know what? If it's a penalty, he's going to score it. So I'd have him all day long, Ivan Toney. I understand why Tammy's not gone in there. I'm a big fan of Tammy Abraham. I like him as a different profile striker. And I would have had him a couple of seasons ago when he was at Chelsea and a lot of people didn't want him. I actually would have quite liked him. He's better than Eddie. Mind you, I am, I think. So I feel like maybe we needed to look at Ivan Toney. But I understand Tammy Abraham missing out if Callum Wilson's going to get a go. But yeah, leaving Ivan Toney out was a strange one for me. But everyone else, I'm okay with it personally.
I think the writing was on the wall for Toney when he was included in the last squad and didn't feature at all. And I believe that, Gareth Southgate's mind was pretty much made up, maybe barring 2 or 3 players up until, this week. So I think Callum Wilson is doing really, really well. But when you do need that option B, is he an X factor and point of difference, James, beyond what Toney can offer? Garrett, Harry Kane's been good this season, but he's gone off the boil a little bit. People are talking about him being exhausted. He's going to feature all the time. He will take the penalties, but if it does get to a penalty shootout, you're going to need more than just Harry Kane who's able to do that. What's your take?
I'm exactly the same as what you feel about Maddison. How many games is Wilson going to start? How many minutes is Wilson actually going to play? He's going to run Harry Kane into the ground. We all know it. We all know it. I will be shocked if Kane is subbed, let alone not start. Even though you've got 5 subs now. Even if we were cruising a game somehow by 4 or so goals, I still don't think he'd sub him. And I think he's gone for Rashford, who I actually do think is having a good season because of he can play wide as well as playing down the middle. Yeah. I think he's gone, I need as many different options as I can. And you know what, Sophie? Grealish, I think, is very lucky to be there. I think if he was called Jack Grealish Pepe, there'd be a lot more slander on this guy's name. For the money that he's been paid, for the numbers that he's produced. Sky did the graphic the other day, Sophie. He was at the bottom. Bowen and the likes were even further than him. Someone mentioned earlier Harvey Barnes. I love that guy.
Yeah.
If these rumours from these journalists that are out there saying that we're buying this Mudurk for 60 million are true, then great, I'm happy. But if Harvey Barnes does not mind sitting on Arsenal's bench and potentially being a second choice to Saka, buy him. Buy him now. If he's happy to do that, this Mudurk's the dream. I've watched the games that he played against Celtic. This guy's the real deal. If he's happy to come and, like I said, be second choice to Saka, then by all means, and that will push Saka on because this guy his ceiling, just as much as Saka's ceiling, is through the roof. He's insane, this player. Absolutely insane. But yeah Harvey Barnes is so good as well. I really like Harvey Barnes.
It's very exciting. Both the players, both Murdoch and it reminds me of 18, by the way, whenever I hear his name said out loud.
What's his name? I thought his name was Mudryk.
Mudryk.
What's it called?
Yeah. Mudryk. Some people say Mudryk, Murdoch.
Murdoch. I thought it was Mudryk.
Mudurk is what the Scottish guy on BT was calling him, so I'm going with that.
Tom Canton usually corrects me and gives me.
He'll let us know.
He'll let us know. Trust me, he'll let us know.
but Grealish, Soph, I was like, you're very lucky to be there. However,
similarly, James. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
it was the same. It was the same situation with Grealish in the last couple of tournaments. That Maddison. He pressure picked Grealish. I don't think if you leave players like that, there's certain pressure picks, and I think Maddison was the Grealish 2.0 of this particular World Cup squad. And you're right about him. He's not set the world on fire, and I think sometimes they're willing to take a gamble on certain players because on any given day, because he has the talent, he could change a game on a whim. But I don't think we've really seen that since he was at Aston Villa,
Yeah.
Greek commander says it's Mudryk.
That's what I thought it was, Mudryk or Mudryk. But if it's Mudryk, then fair play, man.
I think it was Mudryk because the guy was Scottish. I think he just went for the most.
Mudryk.
Yeah, just make it sound like he was from Clydebank or something instead of the Ukraine.
All right, let's get your starting 11s for the first game. Potsy's going to have to duck out, and you're going on. You can listen to after this show. You'll find Potsy and Judges on Lee Judges TV. Am I right, Potsy?
Yeah, we're heading over there for 9
any
o'clock
guests
show.
tonight?
We've got a guy called Stephen coming on to talk all things Arsenal that Lee knows. I've not met Stephen before, but you'll understand why he's coming on. I won't spoil it. But yeah, he's coming on to talk all things Carabao Cup and Wolves preview. So if you head over there at 9, if you want to talk Arsenal, then all good, man. What did you need? Sorry, so far.
You're starting 11. Oh, yeah, if you're choosing, in general, first game in particular.
Yeah, what I would do or what I think it's going to be.
What you would do.
Okay, because what I think it's going to be is completely different to this, by the way.
Everyone's
I know what it's going to be. Everyone knows what it's going to be. I'd go with Aaron Ramsdale in goal. I understand why Pickford has been trusted by Gareth Southgate, but if you're looking at sheer quality, I don't think Pope has got the all-round play that Ramsdale has. I think Ramsdale is probably an all-round modern-day goalkeeper. And people laugh when I say this, but I truly mean it. Other than Ederson and Alisson, in terms of style, I don't think there's anyone in the Premier League that I look at and go, wow, okay, you're the third best. I think Ramsdale is right up there. Emi Martinez, we're all a fan of, and likewise, he's got the same attributes. But I think Ramsdale's proven in the last year, 18 months nearly, how good of a goalkeeper he is. And I would pick him for England. I think he'll go with Pickford, but I would go with Ramsdale. Right back, I think it's got to be Kieran Trippier. I don't think Alexander-Arnold's in enough form, and his confidence is shot to bits to play him. And obviously, Reece James and Walker aren't going to be about for the first game. Left back has to be Luke Shaw because there's no one else. He's literally picked one left back, by the way. That is it. Luke Shaw is the only left back we got, I think, because he'll say Trippier can play there. Well, he's not really a left back, is he? But yeah, so Shaw. Ben White and Johnstone's at the back for me. I wouldn't go anywhere near Maguire, Dyer, or the others, or Cody. In central midfield, Rice and Bellingham. Number 10, James Maddison. Saka on one wing, Foden on the other, and Harry Kane up top. That would be my 11.
That's quite an exciting 11 Potsy's got there. JJ, do you agree?
Yes. However, I would put Trippier inverted, and I would start Trent. I would.
You would go Trippier left, you mean?
Yeah. I put Trippier at left back.
That's fair.
I'd go fair. White and Stones, Trent, then Bellingham, Rice, Maddison, and yeah, it's got to be Foden, Saka, and Kane. Has to be.
Can I ask you guys a question? Because Trent, I think, has been a lot better in the last few games for Liverpool. Kyle Walker might not be ready for the first game. Of course, Reece James not there. Benjamin White has probably played and excelled in that position more than anyone this season. Why not? Are you not playing him there because you're worried about the other centre back in terms of who's going to part?
Yeah,
right. Okay.
Ben White, even though he's not been playing there, is still better than the others.
He is better than those absolute clowns he's picked. Honestly, like Cody, like fair play to him, but he's a back three defender for me. I know he's proven against for Everton this season that him and Tarkowski can form a partnership, but I think he's always been better in a back three. I don't rate Maguire or Dyer. I just think they're completely error prone, and I feel like Ben White will do a better job there. If he would have picked Tomori, or if he would have picked Tarkowski even, or if he would have gone for Mark Guehi, who I thought should have got called up, then fair play, we would have probably gone with Tomori and Stones and then Ben White at right back. But yeah, and then maybe Trippier does the job that James is talking about over at left back. But yeah, man, I think I'd have Ben White. He's been so good this season, Ben White. Like, ridiculously good, mate.
He has. James, do you think Sterling is one of those as well that will start regardless? He's not been great. I know you mentioned earlier about the role, that he's been playing for Chelsea. Doesn't seem to be particularly happy in the position that he's been playing. Chelsea have been woeful. Does he start regardless?
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking of what's Gareth going to pick, he's probably going to pick Sterling, Foden, Kane. He's not going to have Saka start, which is mental, which is absolutely mental. And then that's not even. I take my Arsenal bias out of it. That's mental to not start.
He will play. He would rather. Right, I'll tell you this now. He'd rather play Mason Mount on the wing than Saka.
Yeah,
He'd go with Mount, Foden, and Kane ahead of Saka. Do you know what I mean? In Sterling, Mount, and Kane, even and leave Foden and Saka out there. And he'll definitely play Maguire, Dyer, and Stones as the back three in the first game. That's what the back three will be. It's madness.
Yeah, I'm going to make another bold prediction here against Iran. I think that he'll start Saka. I think Saka starts this tournament.
So do I.
Yeah.
To be honest with
you,
we
might score some goals if he starts.
Yeah. To be honest with you, how many of Xhaka really is probably going to be the one that plays the most of our players going. Saliba, depending on what happens with Varane, I think, we'll maybe get the odd game. Jesus isn't going to start. Martinelli isn't going to start. Tomiyasu will probably start.
Partey will start for Ghana.
Partey will start.
Turner starts for America as well.
Turner will start 100%. He will be the goalkeeper to face England on Thanksgiving Day, and I think he'll end up being a hero. You heard it here first. That's 3 bold predictions I've given you.
That is. I'll say this, though. I think Tomiyasu, Partey, and Turner, I don't expect them to be in there long. So I expect them to be home pretty soon, if I'm honest.
Who goes through England's group? How does the group, before you go, Potsy, tell us the group, how you see who finishes
I think they could go through the group. I think they could go through the group, but I don't expect them to I don't expect them to make the semi-finals or the final or something like that. Any of those teams, including Chaka's as well. I don't think Switzerland will. So my point is, if there's any player I think that will go long-term and deep into the competition, it will be Jesus, Martinelli, Saka, and Saliba. But how much of those will actually play? Obviously, Ramsdale and Ben White as well. But how many of those of our players will play every game up until that semi-final, final? I don't think it will be many of them. I think they'll all be rotated. So, yeah, if Switzerland were to go and win it, then Xhaka would play every game and be knackered. But he won't be because he's a machine and he never gets injured and he's just unreal. But when it comes to it, I think if I had any concerns, it probably would be Saka, because I feel like although he might not start, he would definitely be used a lot by Southgate because Southgate does love him. But yeah, other than that, I think we've got away with it a bit, really, compared to other teams. So, yeah, not too bad.
Interesting. Right, Dan, we're going to let you go so you can hop on to your other show. Thanks so much for popping in, giving us your take. We appreciate it. You can follow Dan here. And also, please, if you haven't subscribed to his channel, hopefully I've got it right here, Dan, Football's 12th Man podcast. There is the handle. Go give him a subscribe. And you can also follow him, of course, on other social platforms, Dan Arsenal 87. Say hi to Judges for us, and we'll talk to you soon, mate. Take care.
Yeah, listen, thank you, guys. Big up yourself. Big up, Squaddies. Great to see you again, James and Sophie. Always a pleasure. Take care, guys. See you next time.
See ya. Bye-bye. All right, James Johnson. Here we go. Do you like it when I call you JJ, or do you?
I've been called much worse. So you, if you can call me Susan, if it makes you happy, I think is the line from Snatch with Vinnie Jones, isn't it? Or is it Shirley? I can't remember if it's Susan or Shirley.
Yeah.
I can't remember the line.
When I hear Shirley, I always remember Airplane.
Yeah.
We got to get these people to a hospital. Surely you can't be serious. I am being serious, and stop calling me Shirley. Yeah. So, okay, let's really quickly rattle these off as well. It's not only...
Sophie, quick question.
Do you have anything else to add about the Three Lions?
I just hope I hope they do well. And do you know what? It's really sad because I've actually done England to win the group and then USA to finish second. However, we're going to end up getting France in that quarter and they're going to slap us. So we're out. See you later. Sayonara. Good night. Goodbye. And it's gutting because I really want a potential penalty shootout. That's my mum. I potentially want a penalty shootout because I want Saka to have the moment that Stuart Pearce got in '96. I want
redemption for the Euros.
Yeah, because if we get a penalty in the group, Kane's not going to give the ball to Saka to let him have to have the moment. So it has to go to a shootout, but it's not going to happen, sadly.
Man, I don't know if I want him to have to go through that again. And
I want him to have it. I want him to have that Stuart Pearce redemption to smash the penalty in.
Now you've stressed me out.
I know, but I believe, I'm a wrestling fan. I like story. I like the drama. in wrestling, not soap operas. I like wrestling.
Well, wrestling is a soap opera. It's
but it's better. People are fake and wrestling's real. That's legit. That's a real quote.
Well, we'll save the wrestling talk for another show. We'll get
Is
JJ
wrestling
on
fixed?
for
I
you.
didn't know it was broken, Sophie. You know,
get you, Magic, and JJ on, and the bearded Gooner. Crikey, I know nothing about wrestling other than Hulk Hogan was good, wasn't he?
Well, he's not now. Let's leave it at that.
Right.
He's had a few bad years as old Hulk Hogan. Not just for not for the old alopecia, but in terms of life, he's had a few bad years.
Oh, I do know The Rock was a wrestler, and also that other guy who's in
John Cena.
Yeah, he's in that Bumblebee movie.
We love John Cena and we love The Rock. I watched Black Adam the other week. I thought it was excellent. I really enjoyed it.
Right. I do like the Rock movie. My one of my favorite recent guilty pleasure movies. We'll save that for Freestyle Friday. Was San Andreas. I think for other reasons.
Haven't seen it. I'll add it to the list.
That's a good disaster movie and just good old fashioned popcorn stuff. Plus, his daughter in that is fairly attractive, and there's attractive. Too.
Yeah. But in terms of Sophie, let's I'll throw this one out because I wrote it down as a potential question. He'd batter me. Magic Mike would batter me. Tomiyasu and Partey are going out of their groups, aren't they?
Gosh, I don't know.
I think they're going out.
Who's in Japan's? Is it Japan? What's the group?
Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up. I've got it here.
Germany.
Germany, Costa Rica, and Spain.
Oh, you know what? I think Spain are going to be a casualty.
They could slip. They are relying still on Morata to bail them out a lot.
Yes,
and that's not good. That's not good. Do you know what? I watch Morata sometimes, and I'm like, I can't tell if you're decent or if you're absolutely, because he'll have games where he'll miss 7 sitters, and then, like you said earlier, he'll do something like David Platt against Belgium, and you're like, how have you missed 7 tap-ins yet you've just done this insane?
It's because he had a torrid time in the Premier League, I think. And that's the image that we have of Morata is, how awful he really was in the Premier League. I'll tell you, it's a show for bold predictions. I'm gonna pick Japan to go through. I think if I'm gonna pick a casualty in the group stages, like a big boy casualty, I'm gonna go for Spain. We'll do predictions next week. How about that?
Okay. Sophie.
Go on. Where were you going with?
Well, I didn't want to ruin it because if you're going to do predictions next week, I sort of think, shall I leave it?
No, go on. I mean, give me another one. What you got?
Okay. Which Arsenal player is going the furthest? I wonder if we've got the same one. I've got a feeling we have. Oh, no, we haven't. We got different then.
Well, I mean, I guess I'd be silly to not pick... Jesus and Martinelli.
Sophie, they're both all 3 of those that you've just put up there. For me, they're going to the semi-final.
You think Switzerland are going to make the semi-final?
Yeah. Yep. Because the way I did the bracket, they get Portugal, and I think they beat Portugal like they beat France. People will think they haven't got a chance, but they'll do it. They'll somehow get through. I think they're going to the semis.
Do you think France are going to have another one of those tanker tournaments?
France are going to the final. Saliba will be in the World Cup final.
Oh, gosh.
Sadly, he will lose, but he will be in the World Cup final.
Who's he losing to? Messi?
Yeah, Argentina are winning it, I think.
Is this going to be the arc?
I don't like saying it, but I think Argentina are going to do it. I would rather Brazil win it, or any of the teams that Arsenal are in. But yeah, I think Argentina are going to win the whole thing.
Well, if he does, after winning Copa America and getting that monkey off his back.
That's it, innit? No one can yell at him anymore.
Is this the moment where the storybook career is arced, lifting the World Cup for Argentina, putting the Maradona thing to bed? Just wow. there's a Brazil-Argentina final.
I'd love it. I'd love it.
So here we go with Demsek, because he thinks this guy and his team will be a bit of a dark horse. But yeah, so your final is France-Argentina.
Correct.
Saliba goes the deepest.
Yeah.
England get knocked out in the quarterfinals by France.
They get pumped by France. They don't lose. They get pumped.
Wow. And who have you got a dark horse that you could see? Is Switzerland your dark horse?
Switzerland are my dark horse. Yeah. I really do. I think that people overlook that game that they played against France in the Euros. They were really good. Really, really good. I mean, they had that. I think he's at Fulham now. Is it Mbabu who's got the hair? He was fantastic that Euros. Ricardo Rodriguez. I'm not just picking the people that've got the hair, but I've always liked him as a player. I've always thought that he was a good solid left back.
So you were a fan of Carlos Valderrama then, were you?
Oh, what a hero! I was going to say their goalkeeper, is it Sommer? He's good, but he's got hair as well. I'm just picking hair guys, aren't I? and Bolo's a good player.
Yeah. Don Juan Italy are not in it, mate. They did not make the World Cup. There is no Italian team.
But I'm gutted that Tomiyasu and Partey, I've put them out of the groups, but I could see Spain slipping up, you know. I think you've got a good shout there of them sneaking in as the runner-up to that group.
Yeah. Well, our three Lions, Saka, Benjamin White, Ramsdale. Let's hope that they have a good tournament. And for me, really, it's all about going there and coming back unscathed. Our other Gunners going: Tomiyasu, Saliba, Partey, Xhaka, praise Jesus, and Martinelli. For the Brazilians, I think this is a really massive moment. I mean, I think Gab 6 is going to be okay missing out. James, I think he's pretty strong-willed type. Hearing Arteta talk about it too, it felt like he wasn't going to make it, so he had prepared himself. Martinelli, I think, would have had more of a devastating effect on him. I think he's just the type that wears his heart on his sleeve. And you know what, GD, Belgium, they are going to... Belgium, the Netherlands, they always choke. Always.
Too many individuals. They're not a team. Sadly. I mean, look at all the players that are in Belgium. You'd love for them to do it, wouldn't you? Because you know that you're going to get good football along the way. But yeah, it's not happening. And you talk about Martinelli there, Sophie. If he didn't go, I was panicking. Because do you remember when, I think it was 2010, when Nasri didn't get picked for France? And then he got so angry that the next year for Arsenal, he just went and blitzed it. And then we ended up selling him. I was like, Martinelli's going to do it. If Martinelli doesn't get picked, as soon as that World Cup's ended, I mean, God, I mean, I think I'm deluded and think we're going to win the league anyway. But he would have been on a title push and a half. He would have done one-man band for the title, Martinelli, if he didn't get picked for the World Cup.
Crazy.
I think like he would have been like Mead when she didn't get picked for the Olympics as well. I think he would have just got so aggy about it that he'd have been like, I'm blitzing get out my way because I'm going to do it. I'm going to show my whole nation, my manager, everything. So yeah, I'm glad he's there. He's awesome. Gotta love Martinelli, man. Got it.
It's a good experience, and I just want them to all come back unscathed. And you know, that's the most important thing for the Arsenal. After Wolves, our next game is on Boxing Day against West Ham. Looks like Mikel's taking the rest of the boys to winter training camp like he did in the last break. I think that would be a good thing, some behind closed doors games. And let's hope that, you know, that they all just really come back injury free. I'm going to do that next week. Going to pick my winner for the World Cup next week. So I'm going to let you wait just a little bit. And James, thank you so much for hanging out and doing this with me. Always love your take. Maybe when I do the prediction show, we can get stuck into it a little bit more. You can come back on and Let's see if you'd have changed your mind about anything. How about that?
By all means, happy. If you ask and the squaddies want it, I will be here.
Oh, the squaddies want it. They want it bad. And as Demsek says, come on, squaddies, hit the like button if you haven't. Don't forget our promo for Zenith coins. It's the in-show promo only. Get your 30% off. The promo goes for 90 minutes plus 3 minutes of added time after the show closes. So please go check that out. Also remember to go see at Stephen at S Featley TV for the 49 coin. For tonight, this one is all about you guys. Go grab it. More special things to come. Of course, Tammy, your Highbury Squad coin is on its way. Keep those nominations coming. The Highbury Squad at gmail.com. The Highbury Squad at gmail.com. We are the gift that will carry on giving. We have a talented Gooners episode coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. And we will let you know what our World Cup schedule looks like next week too. Thanks to everyone who's hung out. James, let everyone know where they can find you here, but also let them know what else you're doing.
Yeah, that's LL Cool James. That should be 90. You've gave me 6 years of grace there, Sophie. Thank you.
Did I make a mistake?
It's 91. I wish I was born in 90.
Hold on one second.
I wish I was born in 97.
Okay, so this is how quickly I can change things here. And there we go.
Hey, that's it. That's the Twitter, and then all my links are on there. You know, purely Arsenal FP. I haven't been on because they have to do early mornings due to work schedule. The host is another one in the US, Jack. So you know, it's difficult time zone wise for us to get me on there at the moment. But we will be coming back, and then I've got my own channel, which is James Johnstone Football. It's literally my name and football after it, if you fancy it, and it's all there. And there's videos on there to watch as well. But they're primarily me on my own, so they're a bit rambly. But if you can stick with it, you might
love a good
ramble. You might enjoy it. You might enjoy it. But
love
no, thank
a
you.
good
Thank you so
ramble.
much.
Of course, thank you for always joining me. You've become a fast favorite here at Squad Central. Thanks for enjoying. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. And if you've joined us on replay and on our audio platforms, we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Back live tomorrow for a little bit more action, Jackson. And until then, tell him, James.
Squaddies. Is it still at ease at the end, or does he say? I can't remember if he's got a different outro one.
No, it's at ease.
Oh, it's still at. Okay. Well, we'll hold it for now. Let him wait. Let him simmer. At ease.
Beautiful.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Wait for it.
The Highbury Squad is powered by Zenith Coins. Support the future, treasure the past. Official licence partner of the Arsenal Football Club. Follow at Zenith Coins across all social platforms.
Now is the end.